Welcome to Anecdotes for Success with Matt and Paul. Storytelling is an art form, emphasizing the value and learning that is created through personal experience. Our purpose is to share these stories and experiences with the listener. Everyone has a powerful testimony. Let's use them to level up to our best life with truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective.
Big shout out to Isaac Mather for the new podcast intro. You can check Isaac's music out on all socials or directly at isaacmathermusic.com. Episode 117. Today was a great day, Matt, because I brought my students to Elmira College, where is adjunct professor the right way to go about it?
Yeah.
I guess that's what you are. What class again? What's it called?
That class is sports marketing.
Sports marketing. Based on your history that any longtime viewer will know, you know a little something about that, right?
Yeah, I think I know a little of only a few things sometimes. Yes, I spent a lot of time in that industry, but it's one of those things sometimes I go, there's these people who are so confident in all their knowledge, and I think, man, I wish I was as confident as you as all the stuff you think you know, because I'm always like, why am I, I don't know anything, I try, but I feel like there's so much I don't know. Maybe that's part of that's being married though.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of it. But again, I don't know if I would go as far as say that's kind of imposter syndrome. I do think that's a real thing. But every day when I go to softball practice, I mean, all I've been through and all the places I've gone with my own girls, at the end of the day, these young kids don't care about that. And I'm writing up practice plans, making sure I can express it. And I'm worried they're going to reject me, not as the expert. I don't ever like really using the word expert, but as the leader, I guess is a better way to put it. And same with the classroom. I worry about that constantly. And I know teachers and coaches that know everything if you ask them. Years ago, I used to go to a softball conference in Philly where the best minds in the game were there. The Weekleys from Tennessee, Patty Gasso from Oklahoma, which is in the midst of a dynasty right now.
Wow.
And I was sitting there, and you could go up and ask them questions afterwards. But the Weekleys were given a clinic on slapping and softball. That's what they were known for back then. I mean, probably still now. This travel coach raises his hand in the back and goes, I know that's what you do, but on our 14U team, what we do. And they wanted to get into like a dialogue over it. I'm like, are you a moron? Like these people. Now, maybe the guy does know a lot about slapping. I'm not knocking that, but that's not the time and place for it. And I've learned, Allie and I just did an episode on communication last night, and the people that talk in the room the most when you're trying to learn are usually defending some sort of inadequacy, if that makes sense, or they're not listening and learning.
Yes, it does. Well, that makes sense. Not only from as someone who's witnessed it, but someone who's done it too, right? I've been that person, right? It's almost like you're trying to convince people of it, right? By speaking more and that kind of thing. So I've been that person. That hits home for me.
I mean, it happens. I do whenever I'm talking about some sort of culture in the classroom around my team. I'm the first to admit, listen, I'm not saying I'm exempt, and I'm not saying I haven't done that, but I feel like more than not, I haven't, and I have the awareness. And please call me out if I do it.
Well, I do the same thing. One of the first things I do in a new class is say, look, this is who I am. This is my, this is my background. This is why this is why I've been asked to be here. That said, I don't know everything. I am wrong plenty of times, and you should be questioning what I have to say. You should question any of your, whether it's your teachers or anyone who's going to stand up in front of you and tell you how you should behave or act or decisions you should make. I'm not saying you should question it, in the sense of, you don't know what you're talking about, but just because someone's up there, myself included, yourself included, doesn't mean we have all the answers. So far from it. So I encourage that. I really do. And I'm always like, call me out. like in a respectful way. Like, let's have a conversation. If you think I'm wrong, or there's some other nuance to this, or there's something else that should be discussed here, well, maybe you'll help me out. I love that. I love that. It's hard though, because younger kids, students, they don't have the confidence most times to do that, nor did I. I didn't have it for much longer, but I certainly think that's a healthy way to look at things. But I'm always really blown away by the person who's like, I know it all, and I'm just here to tell you it. I'm like, wow. I'm almost envious, and in another way, I'm certainly not. But yeah, that's how I feel in those situations anyway.
It's insane. So, gosh, we're going off in that direction. I don't want to stop.
Wait, we never do that.
I know. I do want to go back to what I was at Elmira College. So everybody could just delete the last 6 minutes and back to this question. And because my kids were going to some panel presentations, and
right.
anytime one of the local colleges, once in a blue moon, Cornell or Ithaca might ask us to come to something. But
okay.
Even the community college, when they ask me to go, I don't even care what the topic is. I just love college vibes. Like,
I love it.
I love the vibe of college. I was so jealous watching you teach there today.
It's fun.
So I walked down to you teach a class 3 days a week, and we were there. My students weren't there yet. So I popped down. I was going to sit in, and the timing didn't work out. But in the couple minutes I was listening to you, it's like I knew what you were going to say next, because we've done so many episodes. Relationships, I heard, branding, the stickiness of it. What do you have to offer? Like, it was amazing. I mean, but it was pertinent to the topic you were it was mostly branding, I think, today.
Yeah. We were
at least the 10 minutes I listened.
Right. We were talking about service marketing, the fact that within marketing, there's service, and that, so many of us, myself included, I always think of marketing as like running TV commercials or radio, that's marketing. And it's a piece of marketing, but it's just one piece. So we talk about all the pieces, and we were talking about service today. And one of the things that I got on was how powerful brands are. And, and one of the things a brand can be is just service, and that brand, the brand and the service often align. They tell you something, right? Like, when I think service in my industry, first thing that jumps in the franchising industry is Coca-Cola. Like, Coca-Cola is the best service company I've ever worked with. I mean, so those, just talking how powerful how powerful service is, and how it's your brand, you can connect service to your brand, not just the product itself, but also the service, how powerful that is as well.
It's probably why we go to the local Coca-Cola distributor. And what I've learned throughout the years, they are ginormous compared to Pepsi. Like, you would think, I mean, they're both major brands, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it has to do with the way they service their product. You're 100% right.
It's amazing. I'm just so impressed with them.
That's why it's funny when you brought that up. Like, I could start spitting facts on Coca-Cola because the distributorship we go to. Anyways, okay. So 8 minutes in, here's the actual topic of the podcast now. Good thing we don't have advertising yet, or it'd be like 16 minutes in. But
well, Coca-Cola just got a good one.
Yeah, Coca-Cola got a good one. Subway, Jersey. No, so you do so much in a day. You need that class like you need a hole in the head, technically. Okay. And okay. We were supposed to record tonight, but I had team lift after school for softball, and it didn't take as long. I know I had 45 minutes to an hour before I go back for hitting, because it's a little wintry out today, even though it's the second day of spring. And squeezing in this, we would have got it in later. Every week we're trying to figure out the day and this and that, and it's canceled. So we technically don't need this, but we love it. Okay.
Love it.
You've got your class. I've got the coaching, the 2 podcasts, because I help my daughter out one night.
Yeah,
I just got into real estate. You do real estate. You promote shows. You have your, I don't know if empire is the right word. I think it's a franchise empire. I know perspective wise, there's plenty of people that wouldn't call what you have an empire that you've met within your field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
No doubt.
But there's not enough time in the day. Sometimes I wake up or go to bed. I fell asleep in a chair doing stuff on the computer last night, just dumb stuff like roster for the team. And then I wake up today a little overwhelmed. I get through it. And then seeing you teach today, I'm all energized. I'm all energized for this. So here's the question.
Okay.
How hard would it be to actually give something up when you seem to have the mindset to want to keep doing more? Like, do you ever think of giving up one? I don't think of ever giving up any. Oh, and I have my financial business too. Like,
Right. Yeah, don't
the
forget.
stuff gets tabled, it gets prioritized. It's to the point now I'm telling myself I'm quitting my job in a year because I like all the other stuff. And so even though it's overwhelming and everybody's saying, why are you doing that? You have a job. I was texting you about it when I was out of town last week that I'm looking at it. It's given me a chance to potentially stop my traditional education career and moving on. Not that I will, but it's given me that potential choice in about a year.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, and half of them think I'm crazy, but I'm speaking it because I want that to still be a choice. So
Yeah.
I'm not comparing what we do or the price tags to it. That doesn't matter. But I feel like you and I've learned several years ago, I did it in other ways, but I feel like meaning and purpose is an addiction.
Yeah, you nailed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean as you're discussing this and explaining, that's what it is. But Paul, about an hour and a half ago, I got a call from the college asking me if I would mentor these students in a what do you call it? One of the programs that I'm sick, so I'm drawing a blank. You've worked with them before. They're like a organization that entrepreneurship organization, and you go there with ideas, and I'm trying to think of the word but
Yeah,
there's these.
I forget the name of it. It's a club.
Yes, correct. But these colleges compete and then try to win scholarships with the best idea, and I get a call from them. Hey, we participate in this program. You are the perfect fit for us. We know you're busy. Da 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 da. Would you consider doing it? I'm like, oh my god, yeah, let's do it. Like, its purpose is me. Paul, there's no pay for it. If there is, they didn't tell me. I didn't even ask. I don't care. I'm in it. I was thinking about this earlier today as well. Only because of some conversations I had about how much time someone spends at work, and I use that in quotes deliberately. And I asked the follow-up question. I go, do you mean how much time you're at work or how much time you're actually producing? Because I bet they're two entirely different things. And the person had a difficult time understanding the difference. And I'm like, well, when you sit there and text on your phone or play Minesweeper, if that's even a thing anymore, or TikTok, or stand at the water cooler, like, that's not production. You're at work, but that's not
March Madness brackets this week.
Madness bracket. And look, Paul, I'm guilty of every one of these things except TikTok. I've never been on it. That I mentioned, or I used to be guilty. I'm not anymore because I'm measured by productivity now. You know what I mean? I don't measure time. That's been gone for years for me. I'm measured by productivity. What I can do, what I can accomplish. Paul, you talk about my subways. I bought 2 new ones since we've last spoken. So I'm not, my eyes on the ball, but there's also these other things that matter to me, right? And standing in front of those 24 students today and talking about sports marketing, which I'm not even in anymore. I'm in entertainment marketing because of my shows, I guess. But and talking about these things, I can't put it. It's so hard to put into words. I can't relate to the person who goes, why would you do that? You already have a job. You don't need, like, you just don't get it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, what do you think about it? You're exactly the same.
Yeah, well, I don't think I would have survived education if I wasn't able to go to New Visions 9 years ago and have the hybrid model we have, because I'm measured by productivity in a different way where kids wouldn't apply for my course if they weren't having fun and we weren't doing things.
Bingo, Paul. That's a great point. That is a great point. Your excellence and your value in that course is based on the market and the markets of students, right? They have a choice to come or not come. Yeah. And you went from probably at the beginning struggling to fill the class, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, or the two classes.
Barely enough.
Now to having to tell dozens of kids, I'm sure every year, sorry, we didn't choose you. And that's the market speaking. Sorry to interrupt, but that's
No,
just so important.
it's getting bad. I almost feel like my time's maybe better spent in the future trying to implement this type of program in high schools. Like, it doesn't have to be at a centralized vocational school. I wish schools had this program. I don't want schools around here to do it yet because it's my program. But you know what? If they did, it wouldn't affect me for a couple of years because
No.
the kids I have now, their friends already want to come to me. They don't want to come to the program. I'm not trying to sound like eccentric when I say that.
No, I'm sure they would, to build it, they would need you in this
Yes.
area or whatever. Or they'd be
Trust
silly
me.
not.
And that's part of my plan. Like, when I say I want to leave in a year, I'd still, if a school would hire me for a couple hours a day to do this, it's not that I don't love doing it, but I don't want to be clocked in so many hours a day when there's
Yeah.
other things. I'm learning your world, I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not quite being paid for it, but I'm learning your world. There's other things I can take on and learn from to eventually earn from. And I don't want to be stuck in a classroom when I could meet the kids for an hour and a half and that's it for the day. Like, why do I have to clock in at 8 because my contract says that and just sit there? I mean, I don't sit there, but
Right, but theoretically, right.
You don't have to visit each store for so many hours a week. You just make sure people do that. And so it's addicting and it creates a freedom. I mean, I've only really been thinking this way. I think I always had it in me incubating, but since COVID.
That's it. The incubator. That was the thing I was talking about. The incubator.
See, I set you up. I knew that all along.
That's hilarious. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. And it gets so exciting that what might be accomplished in 30 years. And if I'm not here in 30 years, God bless it. I mean, but what if I am? I don't want to be sitting there saying I should have done something. But
I agree.
My kids and I talk about all the time. We were all out in Chicago for that St. Patty's thing. So it's fun when you're around your family, it with your older daughter, the stuff you talk about now. And it's process and growth and future plans, but you can still have fun and be an idiot for a couple of days. Like,
no doubt, you better.
But that almost, like, after 2 days, that I was done with that. I was excited to get home and do other stuff again instead of like, oh, my 2 days of fun are over. No, because every day is fun.
Right.
Or challenging, fun in the challenge.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but right. We'd both be sitting here lying saying that every day is just the best thing ever. That's just silly. Anyone who's got that expectation is just there's nowhere to go but disappointment on. So I don't care what you're doing.
Again, we've talked before, when you think happiness is someplace, you're never going to be happy. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose and the journey and all those other things. But it's so true.
No, and ideally any of us would position ourselves where they get to do things and provide them a meaning and a purpose. And if you've built some other things that maybe provide you income, whether it's completely passive or relatively passive, so that then you can spend that time you've now bought back on the things that give you meaning and purpose. I think that's about as good as it gets, Paul. I really do. Right. Like, even let's say you inherit a bunch of money and you never have to work again. You're 24 years old or 34 years old, and it's like someone just drops $1 billion in your lap. Well, I don't think, and then you decide, hey, look, I can spend money. I can never spend all this money. I'm just gonna go to Vegas and go to the beach, and then I'm just gonna party and like, I've heard people who have been in these positions interviewed, and they go, that's fun for about X amount of time, and they end up right back where everyone else does. What can I do that provides a meaning and purpose in my life? And the people I truly feel bad for, Paul, and this is far too many people who spend 30, 40 years of their life doing something they really don't want to do because they think the holy grails at the end when they get their retirement or whatever it happens to be. And now they're, if they're lucky 55, and their kids are grown and gone, and they've never experienced the wonder and the joy of trying to do something difficult, and the meaning and the purpose that comes with those kinds of things. And that's what I would fear. That would be my biggest
fear. Yeah, it's insane. But it happens. I don't know the percentage.
mostly.
It's definitely over half the
So go do
population.
something hard is, I guess, a lesson. Go give something a shot. Go go get that degree maybe you've always wanted. Go start that, go start, you always wanted to be an artist. You always wanted to write music. You know what I mean? Maybe you already write music and you wanted to teach kids. Go put yourself in that position, go do something. Go do something hard. Do something that makes you afraid and fearful, and stand in front of that class like you do every day, and I do, and try to pass on something important, or be something that people can lean on, or talk to those friends that you haven't talked to in years, right? And maybe it wasn't a good, the last conversations weren't good. Go brew that beer that you're passionate
Right.
about, right? I mean, go do something difficult that will hurt if you fail. That's what I think you should do
Well, I sent it to you before. I was looking it up on my other computer because our fact checker's sick again today.
every day.
Yeah, I know. Tara Lawson, the Duke women's basketball coach. I
Okay.
sent you that video where she says things don't get easier. You just start handling hard better. And
I
so
agree.
if
Yeah.
you went back to your 35-year-old self, or how old were you when you bought your first Subway?
38.
Okay, 38. That's even better then.
Yeah.
If you thought at 38 you'd have what you have now, in addition to everything else you're doing, you probably would have thought there's no way you could do it.
No
Like,
way.
right? I'm not putting
No
words
way.
in your
No,
mouth.
no. There's no way I would have. No way that person would have said where I'm at would have been possible for me to accomplish. No way.
And nothing you're doing got easier. You're just better at doing stuff.
Just better at it, better at doing it, better at prioritizing it, better at recognizing what's valuable and what's not, right? all
Yep.
all those things. I completely subscribe to that. It's like, this idea that you're just gonna things are gonna get easier, or that it should already be easy, and if it's not, well, that's your cue to quit. Is so well, it's just counterintuitive versus other things we do in life. We know we got to work hard. We know that math problem isn't going to be easy the first time. Or, I have a 20-week-old baby. I stand her up. She's not, she falls down, Hey, guess she's not a good walker. Guess guess she's not up for it.
I would think nowadays, though, like everything else, can't you just hire a walking coach? Like,
You know,
can't you
I'm going to look
can't
into
you pay
that.
money to somebody like they do for sports and everything else, tutors?
I I hadn't looked into it. Maybe I'll try.
I'm just saying,
Probably.
because obviously you're not that good at it.
No, I'm right. I'm terrible at it. So we should just quit. You know,
No,
it's
we're closing on that building soon. There's been a couple hiccups, and that scared me. And now I
yeah,
walked by it today getting my coffee, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen in the next year. All the
yeah,
ups and downs just for that little project. But
yeah, right.
I'm gonna look at it, and it'll be better than it is right now.
You're gonna come out of it better. Whatever happens, you're gonna come out of it better. And that is true. Like, that's not a guess. That's just true. Now, better in what ways? You and I don't know, right? But just
Right.
but but better.
But it's funny, it comes up a lot. I mean, it's a small town. I've had
Yeah.
not a million, I'm exaggerating. A lot of people ask me about it. And so many of them, a lot of them give you ideas that they don't want to help you with, but that's fine. I
Yeah.
welcome the ideas. I love
Yeah.
talking about it. But then a lot of them, gosh, I wouldn't try that. Or, oh, the market's bad. Or, oh, you don't need another one of those. Or you don't need this. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't. But you know what? It's going to be something.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
make buildings in like a month. But that's the mindset of people. They're the same people that don't want to handle hard and get better at it. They just want to. I can't tell you, Matt, the last time I've watched TV. You know what I do? The students laugh at me. by the end of the day, if I'm still awake and I'm just not ready for bed yet, like, and I'm computered out and phoned
Yep,
out,
sure.
I
Yep.
watch a Family Feud episode. Isn't that pathetic?
Really?
Steve Harvey cracks me up, and
I love the feud.
I hate the whole show. I just like that challenge at the end. People
Yeah,
pay.
right.
Then I end up watching two when I go to bed. Now I love my sports, and I'll watch softball games streamed on my computer or phone and stuff like that. But people ask me about shows, and I don't even know what they're talking about. And they look at me like I'm an idiot. And I like a good show. I went through Game of Thrones and I went to other
Right.
things. But right now, I have no desire for that. And I'm not knocking people that do. But I think that's the first thing you can punch out of your
Oh,
life to get
so
more done.
fast. It's so easy and you won't even know it's gone. You know what I mean? And once you do, going back to it'll almost feel like a vice. It'll almost feel like smoking a cigarette or going to the gambling like, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. You know, and I'm hey, look, we all need our
Yeah.
guilty little pleasures now and again. I'm the same way. But to what how much, right? How far we want to take that.
Yeah,
And you can
my
cut that out so easily.
my one neighbor a couple weeks ago brought me onto a show, Masters of the Air. It's about World War II bombers.
No way.
Yeah, it's on Apple Plus if you have that.
Okay, we do actually. We do, yeah.
You got so I think I did watch two episodes of that, but it took me like a week to get through the two episodes because I do it late. But boy, you talk about perspective and you're up in that piece of metal and you get a hole
People
blasted
shooting at you.
and you're freezing to death up there because it's not
Yeah,
like like I don't know. But that's just what they did. You would like that because I know especially you love that period of time anyways.
love that period of time. In fact, that I'm watching right now. I have a thing going. It's a it's a World War II thing about the atom bomb with U.S. and Russia or the Soviet Union, I should say, and that whole piece. I'm fascinated by. But that brings me back to our conversation with Val and anyone who's listening who did not listen to that episode, Paul. That may have been my favorite episode we've ever done because well, you need to listen to a person who's lived through he went through what he went through and his perspective. And look, I'm not saying you have to agree with him, but if you don't listen to that, and that doesn't at least make you think, that doesn't make you pick up a book to find out more. I don't know what to do with you. I mean that guy. I can't wait to meet him in person. If he comes into town, Paul, and I don't meet him, I may never talk to you again.
Yeah, no, he will be soon. And if anything, to just realize there's two sides of every story. Like he left a country that some people think our country's turning into, and it
Yeah,
goes
I
full
know
circle. And
exactly.
he's not too vocal about it. He's almost just like, you know what? God bless you if that's the way you think things should be. But take it for what it's worth. I lived through it, and I
Right,
left. You
right,
know,
right. I know.
but
I
so,
was fascinated.
so to answer my question, do you ever think of giving things up?
Um, the only thing I think, Paul, is do I stretch myself too thin and can't
Yeah.
give certain things all that I would that I would like to give at times? That's a legitimate criticism if people had that of me, and they have. Particularly my wife at times, who I listen to more than anyone in terms of respecting her opinion
Right.
and that kind of thing. That is the one criticism that I think is very apropos and that's all I but it's not to take the time I would save by not teaching, let's say, or not building a new business or something so that I could watch Netflix, right? Or so that I could play video games or just sit around. Now if it's time with my family, maybe I want to garden, maybe I that's something I'm passionate about or get into something difficult and interesting. Well, to me that's a good trade-off, but that's the only real thing I have is everything's a trade-off, right? So what am I giving up for these things? Could I spend more time in certain areas of my businesses if I wasn't? I'll just use teaching again. Yep. So that's a consideration, but it wouldn't be to trade that time for easy and things that are brain cell killers and retire so I can just not do anything. The dream of not doing anything that just doesn't resonate with me. What about you? What thought have you given to that stuff?
Yeah, well, ironically, it's my main career. That's the thing I want to give
Yeah,
up.
but but
But not
you're doing other things, and that goes. I mean, that's that's where you are too. That's a big deal.
but not to not teach, I don't even know if that was grammatically correct. But and
So
I
what?
the hard part I'm having in my head is I absolutely love the time with those students too. But
Yeah.
and when you're an educator, think I don't know if it's different in college. I feel like you're not with them as much. And I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing,
Oh,
but
right.
I'm always like, we interview next year's class. So I'm always like, when I decide to stop doing this, I've interviewed those kids and then have to tell them all I'm not doing it.
Uh-huh.
And even if you've been a classroom teacher for 30 years, kids get to know you. And some class is going to be the class that doesn't get to have you if you were a good
Yep.
educator and students like you. But that's just, I
True.
mean, that's a fact of life. That doesn't stop me. But I mean, with softball right now, it's like I said, I mean, it's a good program with a long history.
Definitely.
Right now, I probably spend more hours a day on that than anything else I
Yeah.
do for like $4,000. It's not even worth it, you know?
Well, Paul, the bonds you build and the meaning and the purpose, whether it's the softball or the teaching, because you're right, you could spend time with them and create bonds that I just don't get to do because of the time factor, and those are the most meaningful pieces of it. I'm sure it's a relationships, right? I mean, listen to any great coach talk and ask them
Yeah.
what their favorite part about coaching was. And it's always relationships, right?
It really is. And I think that the team gets puzzled sometimes. I don't get mad if someone talks to me on the side and disagrees with what I'm doing. Let's so well, that's going to be a whole nother episode. I got to end with we're getting close to time. I want to end with this. You
Okay.
answered my question. We got around it. We stayed not on task, which is a good thing, but we came full circle. Some of my students saw you getting in your car in the parking lot today, and they were very confused.
Okay.
They go, "We randomly saw Matt Huffnagel in the parking lot today. Like, what was he doing here?" And I go,
Oh,
yeah, I go, well, he teaches a class 3 days a week there. Well, how's he have time for that? And then that's what made me think of today's episode. So it
oh,
was
that's
it was
funny.
great.
I did see some students. You're right. I thought they thought I was getting in the wrong car or something.
Yeah, they miss you, by the way.
Yeah, well, I miss that too because of the very reasons we just discussed.
Right. Right.
You know.
One of the afternoons you got to get there. There's a kid that's pitching a concept to area restaurants. It's more mom and pop. I don't nothing against the big franchise. Not that you wouldn't say, "Wow, that's a great idea. I want to be part of it." I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's designed for you, but you might be the type of person, not to give you too big of a hint, that might say, "This is exactly why I want to do it." So that's all
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
need to do that. You're right.
I hope I gave you enough
No, enough to
incentive.
keep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You did. That was a good tease.
And he's an afternoon kid, so anytime,
Okay.
anytime at noon. So, all right, Matt, thanks for being flexible, and we'll
Likewise.
see you next week, most likely with a guest.
Have fun at practice. Stay indoors today.
Thanks. See you. Bye.